And now I'd like to bring on fan-sided editor extraordinaire Josh Hill for our weekly segment, A Song of Dan and Josh, where the two of us walk through every chapter of the Song of Ice and Fire novels and just analyze them with some fresh eyes. I've read the books multiple times. Josh Hill, sitting on my right, has never read the books. He's seen the show. What can we dig out of these? Let's find out.
Oh, memories, good times.
Memories.
Fun.
And today is a good one. We read, basically, this is subtitled The Aftermath.
Yeah.
What happened after
much.
Ned gets arrested. And it's through the eyes of his two daughters.
Yeah.
So let's dig into it. So this is Arya and Sansa stories. What do they do after their dad gets arrested? Very, very different kind of reactions to it.
Very much so. First of all, hello everyone. Hello, Michael Douglas, big fan.
Me too. Us Catherine and the kids.
Yeah. So, Arya.
So yeah, start with Arya.
We'll start with Arya because she came first. She came second, actually, but in order of birth. But anyways, so Arya's big thing is violence, and it's an irrational reaction to negativity, which is very much in her character. I mean, it's what we've seen. She doesn't approach things calmly, I guess you could say.
She has very little chill.
She has no chill whatsoever. And it's Syrio, right? Syrio?
So yeah, Syrio Farrell.
Yeah, Syrio. He's in this.
He's
in that
chapter. Opens with Arya is having a sword fighting lesson with Syrio Farrell, and the guards walk in, and they're like, "Come with me. Your father wants to see you." And immediately something's off. Like, why are you coming to get me? Why didn't he just come for himself? Why didn't he send one of his guys? And they kind of clue on to something's gone wrong.
Yeah.
And Syrio tells Arya to run away, and then like takes down 5 dudes by himself, which is a good send-off, I thought, for like a minor character.
It was. That was really cool. And it was kind of cool the way that it was not necessarily revealed that something had gone wrong, but the way he was like or Arya had to look through the swords or whatever the saying was. And
he gives this whole speech about you need to see, and like, I don't have it in front of me, I'm sorry. It's about having insight and being able to see the truth of things. Like he does a bit where he is attacking her and then he fakes her out.
Yeah.
And then and hits her, and then she gets mad at it. And she's like, "You cheated." Which, by the way, I couldn't help but kind of look at that moment and think about Ned Stark's whole problem, where Ned's the guy who, again, thinks the rules are going to be followed and that no one's going to cheat and that he's wrong. And Arya, too, like, thinks Syrio is going to do what he says he's going to do and hit her where he says he's going to hit her, and he doesn't. And she gets mad about that because she's very quick to anger Arya. It's like, you cheated. And he's like, if you were looking closely, you would see I would have done that even if I told you otherwise.
Yeah. And again, that's a valuable lesson for Arya to learn.
Oh, yeah.
It's something that keeps coming back. But it
does.
It is cool
a lot of her arc is about her learning to lie and then literally be a faceless assassin later in the time.
Yeah, which is interesting in the juxtaposition against Ned, who is literally about to lose his head because he is such a rule follower. And then also on the other side, you have Arya, who is like, rules are basically a manifesto to her. Like, she sticks to them. Like, she's learning to lie. She's learning to trick people and learning to operate a little bit outside of the rules. But her own rules, like that list that she has, the names.
It's ironclad.
That is ironclad. And that is basically the entire motivation for her character to do everything, at least on the show. And it seems like so far in the books.
Arya is a grudge holder.
Yeah.
Like, it's a death grip onto the grudges. She loves her grudges.
Oh, yeah.
It's like her and Cersei just like love their grudges. They're best friends.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, in this chapter, and she kind of starts that way. Like we see a lot of Arya themes crop up here. Yeah. Mainly like death, murder, and lying.
Happy themes.
Happy themes. She does get out. So Syrio Farrell tells her to leave. She does, and he dies off screen, off page, which I think is maybe the reason a lot of fans tend to think that
he's not dead.
Yeah, because we don't see him die, and he's just such a fun character. Like here, I'm going to read the little bit where he takes out 5 guys by himself. Syrio checked one sword with his stick and whirled away from the second. Off balance, the second man lurched into the first. Syrio put a boot to his back, and the red cloaks went down together. The third guard came leaping over them, slashing at the water dancer's head. Syrio ducked under the blade and thrust upward. The guardsman fell screaming as blood welled from the red, wet hole where his left eye had been. Like, I think people have a hard time believing, like, the character's so cool. How could he just die like that?
Right.
But, I mean, Martin does it all the time, so I think he's dead.
It's true, but also, I mean, this is maybe grasping at straws, but going back to the first time that you read this book, the idea that a character like this could just be killed off is
Like
a little
off
foreign.
page, unceremoniously. Yeah.
Yeah, and you haven't gotten to everybody can go at any time whatsoever. This is still kind of a new concept because Ned's still alive at this point, whom we think is kind
Before
of the hero of the
Ned,
book.
it didn't occur to people, I think, that kind of thing could just happen.
Exactly. So like kind of hanging on to that old feeling of there's no way that Syrio is dead. Not necessarily because we think that he isn't dead. It's just that you're going back to that feeling that you had the first time you read it where it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever that he get killed off page, and you hang on to that. But
Exactly. Let's go back to the death and murder of Arya. So Arya kills a person here.
She does.
She makes her first kill. She's trying to escape the Red Keep. She's in the stables. She's looking for her sword, Needle, and she intends to just get on a horse and ride all the way back to King's Landing, which, by the way, is really fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of the reason people like early Arya a lot. She's just spunky. She's got a lot of heart.
Yeah.
I mean, when Sirio's being face down, she, like, stands beside him with her wooden stick, and it's like, you're not going to take me. I mean, that's just adorable. And she thinks that she can just ride all the way back to Winterfell by herself on a horse. Maybe she can. I don't know. But just the can-do attitude is very endearing.
yeah.
But anyway, when she's fishing around for her sword, a stable boy comes up, and it's like, oh, there's an APB out for you, basically. I'm going to bring you into the queen. And she kind of, without thinking, there's a bit of a struggle, stabs him. And then I like the way Martin wrote the death scene. "Oh gods," he moaned as his undertunic began to redden. "Take it out." When she took it out, he died. Like, very simple.
Yeah.
Like, a very minimum of words to say this huge thing. Arya has committed murder.
And also, we're inside of Arya's head.
We are.
So that's how she sees the murder, is very simplistic. There's no drawn out, she's struggling with this, oh my God, what have I done? Literally inside of her head, she's like stabbed, dead, next thing. Like, and that's kind of good insight into who she is and how she operates. Because you'd think this...
You're right, she's got
this
a piece of it all.
Yeah, like this young character, regardless of gender, this young character, small child, murders somebody in cold blood and has no reaction to it other than...
He was trying to take her in. Like, she had an interest in getting past him. And she didn't mean to... I mean, she's never stuck it in anybody before. I don't think she meant to kill this first kid.
But just the lack of remorse. And also, I'm not saying that that's like a sinister, sadistic quality. It's just that, I mean, on one hand, it could be interpreted that way. But on the other hand, she is just this, like you said, she's got the grit. And she's got this... I guess that's the darker side of the spunk, but
yes,
this can-do attitude of like, nah, whatever. Like, you're in my way.
I mean, yeah, she has things to do. She's got to get out of here. But you're right. I hadn't even thought of that. She doesn't really spend any time going to pieces over it. She's like, he's dead. That's weird, but I gotta book it. Like Sansa would have gone to pieces.
Yeah.
And then I really like the last part of the chapter 2, where she's making her way through the dark tunnels, trying to find the way she accidentally found last time to get out. And she's kind of afraid of the dark, but she kind of summons up this memory of when she and Bran and Sansa and Robb went down to the Winterfell crypts, and Jon was like covered in flour to be a ghost and spooked them. And it was just a kind of a funny family moment, and that gives her the courage to go for it. I thought that was sweet.
Yeah.
A nice moment.
Yeah, it's kind of, again, on the flip side of here's this child that just murdered somebody.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
but actually, she is sweet
child.
and innocent and a child deep down, because she's that. Yeah, both the explanation of the story that she uses to give herself courage, and just the fact that she had just killed somebody and she's afraid of the dark. Like those two things.
Yeah, I
matching
love it.
up
I
against
love the
each other are
contrast.
great.
And that is kind of the heart of Arya's chapters for a while. The contrast of she's in this crazy situation where she's just exposed to murder and death and brutality and torture all the time, but she still has this vulnerability and innocence about her.
Yep.
And that's kind of what makes Arya's character, I think, fascinating, at least until she gets a bit more hard-bitten later. But for the next couple of books, it'll be like that. And I think it's a really interesting ride.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Sansa, who also reacts to her father's imprisonment, but completely different kind of journey than Arya has.
Yeah.
No stabbing kids for her, no violence. I mean, we learn here, she not only, I'm trying to phrase this, would it be appropriate to say that she volunteered to get put away? Because we learned that she went to Cersei beforehand.
Yeah.
And she told Cersei, you know, Dad's making Arya and me go back to Winterfell. Can you do anything? Now, all she's thinking of there is, I want to marry the cute boy.
Yeah,
I don't think she has any conception that Cersei
No.
has darker plans. But in a way, and some fans still hold this against her to this day, she can be blamed for tipping Cersei off, which gave her some heads up as to what Ned was going to do so she could mobilize her stuff.
That is, I think, you can hold it against her. That's true. But it's the misplaced innocence, I think. Because in the other chapter with Arya, she kills somebody, which is afraid of the dark, and that's kind of the contrast of her character. Whereas with Sansa, all she wants to do is stay. And all she's romanticized the good life, you could say.
Yeah.
And we saw that in the other chapters, the way that she's basically glossy-eyed over all of this. This is
Joffrey especially is her biggest blind spot. She wants to see him as a handsome, gallant prince, and she just does.
Yeah, it's like she wants the life so badly that she's willing to basically distort everything in her eyes to see that. And she's willing to do something that, in her mind, is innocent. Go to Cersei, who she thinks is somebody she's not.
The queen. I mean, she seems to like Cersei. There's this bit in here where I like this bit where they're talking, and Sansa says that she could see kindness in the queen's clear green eyes. Now we know there is no kindness in Cersei's eyes.
Yeah,
she just doesn't have it in her. But the fact that that Sansa's willing to believe she does, and that Cersei's acting that way.
Yeah, I noticed that too, and I figured that was the foolishness of Sansa. That's her seeing something, not seeing the whole picture, which is kind of a Stark thing. Ned can't see the whole picture. He's just kind of got the tunnel vision for the good stuff.
Right.
Arya
too, with the whole Syrio thing, where you cheated.
Yep. Same tunnel vision thing. And then Sansa, tunnel vision on, I want this life. I want the riches. I want to be pampered. I want to be the princess to the prince and the king and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
To the point where she's willing to look over, and I don't know if it's apparent to her, if she's just looking it over willingly, or maybe a mixture of both, but to say that there's kindness or whatever in the eyes of Cersei is just an outrageous observation for somebody to make.
Knowing what we know, and I do think it's one of those things too, where if we read the book the first time, we didn't. I mean, I guess with this one we already knew what Cersei was capable of, but we haven't been in her head yet. And we have been in Sansa's, and she just thinks of her as the queen, like someone to aspire to, like a role model. She does not suspect her of doing all these horrible things to her father.
It's a cult of personality is what it is.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm not going to make it more about real world things like I did last week, but it's, the cult of celebrity, you could say too, because she's the queen and she is this very prominent figure, and she also happens to be the mother of the boy that she wants to marry. Exactly. So there's all of these things going that will blind Sansa from the truth. And again, that's kind of a Stark curse a little bit.
I also love this moment. So Cersei summons Sansa into this council chamber where she has Varys, Pycelle, Littlefinger to kind of put on this song and dance for her. Yeah. Where Cersei wants Sansa to write a letter to her mother, to her brother, just basically saying what happened to Ned is not the Lannisters' fault. They're fine. I'm being taken good care of. They want plausible deniability. Yeah. They want a shield because they do not want Robb to mobilize and to come here with an army and fight them. They want to pacify it. Cersei does. And what they're trying to do is just convince Sansa that that's actually the case. Yeah. And they have an uphill battle because they've killed her father's men, captured her father, but they've kept Sansa in a tower this whole time, so she doesn't know what's going on. I also have this moment where Sansa's in this tower with her friend Jane Westerling. By the way, you should remember
Jane Westerling,
because she will come back in a big way in the book. They basically cut her from the show after this. Huh. She's on the show real briefly.
But she comes back in the books?
Yeah, in a rather big role. So remember the name Jane Westerling. Do me a favor, just not that down. So they put Sansa in a tower with Jane Westerling, who can actually fill her in a little bit more stuff. And then Sansa brings that up and but Jane's saying that she wants to see her father, who's dead, by the way. And there's this bit where Cersei kind of turns to the Kingsguard who put Jane in there and says, why is she in there? That wasn't part of the plan. And I just, that knowing Cersei, she wanted to throw something at his head and toss some wine in somebody's face or great, but she just, because Sansa's there and she has to be nice, she's just take Jane somewhere and, keep your little fingers quarters. We'll take good care of her. Yeah. And next time, come to me before you put another prisoner in with Sansa. I mean, another guest in with Sansa. But again, that's one of those things where it's like the kindness in her eyes, where
Yeah.
there's things going on in that scene that Sansa does not know are going on, but we can see it as readers.
Yeah.
Anyway, how does Cersei convince Sansa that to sign this letter, which she eventually does?
Well, it's not so much in how she convinces her to sign it. I did, with you, agree with the whole Stockholm syndrome thing that she's got going on.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's like that. She does have a kind of an uphill battle, but to me, I never really saw it that way because I always thought that Sansa was just going to buy right into it, regardless of what, because of she's so romanticizing the life that she wants.
Right.
That, I mean, at one point she's even like throwing Arya under the bus. Like
Oh,
she's
totally.
willing to completely, and that's kind of what bothered me
They
too
have a
about
feud.
Sansa. If there's anything to hold against her, it's not that she kind of gave up Ned. It's all of the things. She gave up Ned. She's throwing Arya under the bus and all this kind of stuff. When she's going against the family name and the family everything, the house, which has been established both on the show and so far in the books as being very, very important, that
Sure.
is a little disturbing to me as far as
fair
what I
enough.
would hold against Sansa, because all the other stuff, it's what if she's a child, she's innocent, she doesn't know what she's doing. But the Arya stuff seems, and I know, I guess from the show, that there's the whole feud thing. But the Arya thing,
Yeah, I mean,
that
when
stuck
they
with
come
me
back,
a little bit more.
this is what Arya complains about when she comes back in the most recent season. Like she finds the letter she writes here, and it's like, did you write this? We have a problem.
Yeah.
Because again, Arya holds on to grudges, and Sansa learns a lot since this encounter. But yeah, I don't. There's not no culpability. I mean, she's not like 3. She can have perception. She's a
Yeah.
smart girl. In the conversation itself, what Cersei holds over her, I think, is mostly she threatens to take away Joffrey. And that is where Sansa lives right now. So she has little internal snits like, it was not supposed to happen this way. She had to wed Joffrey. They were betrothed. He was promised to her. She had even dreamed about it, which I love that bit, because, like, I dreamed about it, therefore it has to happen, is her logic. It wasn't fair to take him away from her on account of whatever her father might have done. And then Cersei kind of pokes at Arya, too, saying, like, well, your sister hit my son earlier. You know, it runs in the family, I guess. We can't trust you. Which is what makes her go, like, I'm nothing like Arya. Arya's the worst. I'm pretty and nice and a wife. So Cersei is pushing buttons pretty well here. And eventually, I think the final kind of feather in the cap of why she writes the letter, she has this bit where she assumes that Joffrey is going to make the final call, and that Joffrey is a very nice person who wouldn't actually hurt Ned. Her gallant prince would never hurt her father, no matter what he might have done. He had to listen. He loved her. Even the queen said so. Again, putting stock in Cersei's words for whatever reason. Once she was queen, she could persuade Joff to bring father back and grant him a pardon. So she does have a bit of a plan. It's just really, really misjudged.
Yeah. Entirely misguided.
Yeah, there's again, it's the thing I like about the chapter and that meeting is that there's one narrative, Sansa's narrative, where she's putting things together in her head, and she kind of just doesn't have the right information and just doesn't have the right judgment calls. And then there's what's actually happening, which is something that she doesn't really grasp onto, but we can kind of get tastes of through the chapter.
Yeah, it's the Sansa thing. It's the Disney princess vision that she has for her life. She wants to hang on to it so much that she's willing to go to these extremes of basically throwing her family under the bus to say, and not so much because, like you said, she does have the plan where she's like, "There's no way that something bad's going to happen to my father."
And
but
also, she's doing these extreme things, but she's being talked into them by expert manipulators.
and that's the thing with the whole the green, the kindness in her eyes, and everything like that. And Cersei is dancing circles around her.
Oh,
and I
utterly.
get it. It's adult, it's child, it's that she should, and Sansa's not equipped to kind of do battle with Cersei because Cersei is just so far out of her league. But just the fact that she doesn't see what's going on so tremendously,
Yeah,
it's a
really
blowout
misses
that
it.
is completely one-sided.
It's like
context
right here, and she's just
but she's got that tunnel vision, that Stark tunnel
Yeah.
vision of everything that I see, everything I dream about is going to happen, and I'm going to get there. I just have to believe, and the way that I see this going, I believe it's going to turn out that way, so it's going to turn out that way. And
Right.
of course, nothing that the Starks believe or see ever turns out the way that they think it's
not
going
for a good long while. I mean, just in one more thing in defense of Sansa, it's not just Cersei. Like, she brings in
Oh,
Pycelle,
yeah.
Varys, Littlefinger, and they're all doing this. Like
Yeah.
they all have this. To me, it felt very like planned. Like Cersei's like, I mean, what do you think, guys? Can we really have Sansa marry Joffrey after her father did this? And Pycelle's like, I don't know. They say traitor's blood is traitor's blood. Like they're all designed to get Sansa
Yeah.
to in a very defensive position where she's like, I have to prove to them that I'm worthy of Joffrey. Because these important people are all saying I'm not, even though all they want is the letter.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they're thinking about Joffrey. Maybe they are in the future. So she does make the choice, though, and that obviously will come back to haunt her, haunt Ned. But it's like I said before, it's not one thing that kills Ned.
No.
It's all this cascading
Yeah.
events. Himself, Sansa, Cersei, Joffrey, the Executioner. It'll all climax in a big way soon enough.
Yeah.
And your thoughts, Josh, on either of these eventful chapters?
The aftermath chapters.
The aftermath chapters.
No, there's a lot of aftermath to take in, but I'm
was.
interested
They
to
were
see
pretty
where it
good.
goes from here.
All right. I think next week I'd like to only read one chapter, both because it's a little long and because I'm going on a little vacation for this weekend. I don't want to read.
Yeah.
John Whatever is the next one.
All right.
So we'll see how he feels about all this shenaniganery going on down. Actually, no, I don't think he learns about it for a little bit. I think the next time is our first encounter with a white. So that'll be a good time.
Ooh, all right.
Next week, the next John chapter in A Game of Thrones. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We're back next week, too, Wednesday at 4 o'clock with more Game of Thrones news, Song of Fire news, prequel news. We'll see. You have any thoughts on that? You excited for the prequel?
I am excited for the prequels.
I'm
For
pretty
one, don't
interested.
care what it's called, so we'll watch it regardless.
Called anything? Called
You can
SpongeBob
call
SquarePants
anything.
Thrones?
I would watch that.
Actually, I
That's
would.
A
That'd
hell
be
of a
cool.
twist.
All right, we're back next week at Wednesday at 4 p.m. Hope to see you there. Have a good one.